Welcome to the New Normal Now podcast. This is the very first episode, our intro to you, the audience. My name is Giovanni. I am one of the hosts of New Normal Now, partnered with Kahn.
Hey! I'm so
How's it
happy
going,
to be here, Gio. It's our first episode. So exciting.
Crazy, right? Like it's finally happening. We are here. So for those of you who are tuning in, you're probably wondering, what is New Normal Now, and why should I watch? Well, this podcast, vlogcast, whatever you want to call it, is really going to be an opportunity for us to examine and analyze with guests every week, sort of what are the challenges and opportunities that are presented to, us young people in this new normal. So we're going to talk from everything from dating to acting to fitness in the new normal, right, Hannah?
Absolutely. And we're definitely going to be engaging in conversation, not with just each other, with our guests who will be experts in different topics, and of course with you. We want this to be a discussion that we can all be part of. We'll be learning and growing, hopefully, as we go.
Couldn't have said it better. So with that, I think probably people are wondering, who are we?
Maybe they are. Well, I'll start if that's okay.
Sure.
I'm Hannah Kahn, currently in Washington, D.C., which is my hometown. I am staying here with my family, and I grew up here actually in Chevy Chase, Maryland, a suburb outside of D.C.
Important distinction.
Yes, and it was not named after the actor, for those who are wondering. I went to Northwestern to study theater, and I was an actor in New York for a few years before switching career paths and going into entertainment news. So I moved to Los Angeles and I worked at Extra TV for a few years as their online correspondent and producer. And that was so much fun. I did a lot of work in the digital space with reality TV. I had my own Bachelor recap show for those of you who are reality TV fans. And then I worked at Telepictures Productions as the digital content manager before going to USC to get my master's in specialized journalism with a focus in entertainment. I just graduated in May, and that is how I met Gio, because he is actually my USC mentor, my alumni mentor.
Somehow, I don't know how that worked out, but so I feel like you're my mentor at this point. I mean, if you listen to all the things that she just said that she's done, it's ridiculous.
You're the sweetest. He's the best. Honestly, I'm honored to be your co-host and your mentee. I'm learning so much from you. Now tell everyone about you, because you're incredibly impressive.
Well, so Hannah was right in terms of us meeting through USC. In terms of me being impressive, I don't know about that, but
and humble.
We met through a USC program. I went to USC. Fight on for all the Trojans out there. Sorry, Bruins. I love you though. I do. But gotta throw up on the victory sign every once in a while. So I went to USC. I studied journalism there. Started out my career in local news in San Diego, actually working for the San Diego Union Tribune. Did a lot of prep sports stuff. I was a videographer over there. Then ended up joining KTLA, where I am now, on the digital team, focusing on emerging platforms, video production, social media. How do we, communicate every time that there's a new algorithm change? How do we, communicate slightly differently while maintaining our brand? So that, for me, I'm big into data. I'm a nerd, totally a nerd.
I'm a nerd.
So, this is why I think Hannah and I got along so well. We had discussed, New Normal Now early on about, us having this desire of like, hey, there's quite a lot to talk about that's changing in the world right now. And we think through our insight, through our careers, and through, the guests that we bring on and the people we know, that we'll kind of learn a few things together as we go.
And since our podcast is all about the new normal now, I think it's worth noting that you and I have never met in person.
That is true. And I'm sure that a lot of people are experiencing this at work even. Think about all the people that maybe, if you were lucky, got onboarded while you were working remote. You never got to meet that new employee at work, or maybe friends that you met, or people that you may have matched on a dating app with. Oh, we'll talk about that.
That's a good teaser, Gino. He has a story for you. Get excited. It's amazing.
Yeah, so we have not met in person, which is crazy.
Connecting in quarantine.
Yes, connecting in quarantine, although it feels like we have.
I know.
And we hope that you watching right now, you feel the same way. And we want you to be a part of our family too. You know, this is a discussion, an open-ended discussion. We're trying to build community and show a little bit of communities around the world too, through the different topics that we discuss.
That's a really good point, Gio, because we are about creating community. I think it's really easy to feel alone during this period. I certainly felt really isolated living alone in LA. So we're all about coming together. This is a platform of community and of unity. So yeah.
Love it. Love it.
I have a little game to play with you really quickly so that everyone can get to know us even better.
Okay, I'm down.
Called Pleasure to Meet You. So Gio, what is one of your guilty pleasures?
Ooh. Guilty pleasures. Dark chocolate, probably. But you're going to think this is crazy. Dark chocolate on top of sour gummies.
What?
Yeah. Wild. I know. Judge me all you want. It's weird as heck.
It's weird.
Yeah, but you get the whole like flavor of everything. You get the sweet, you get the bitter, you get the sour. It's like a whole mix of everything. It's weird.
Okay.
It's
You really like
weird,
the sugar?
good.
You like the sweets over savory?
So actually, funny that you say that, because the reason why I like dark chocolate is because it isn't all that sweet.
Okay, that makes sense.
So I actually prefer savory. I think if I was stuck on an island and only had one kind of food to bring with me, now we can get into a whole podcast episode of what you would bring on the island in terms of a specific item.
Yeah.
But if I had to choose between savory foods or sweet foods, I'd probably choose savory.
So you would rather quarantine with savory food?
I would rather quarantine with savory. Yes.
Okay, great. My second question is, what is one of your simple pleasures?
Simple pleasures.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, that's a good one. Simple pleasures. I think probably playing guitar a little bit.
I didn't know you played guitar. You're a man of many talents.
I tried. The humble pie legacy tries to live on here, but you know, I play guitar. I'm not a guitarist. There's a distinction there. Okay. You know, a lot of great guitarists out there, you know, that are really, really good at what they do. I am nowhere near that. I just know a thing or two and like noodling around. It's a great way to decompress. Everybody should have their, you know, own form of mindfulness or meditation. That for me, if I've had a busy day at work, just noodle around on the guitar a little bit.
You know, we're doing a creativity in the New Normal podcast episode soon. I think you need to whip out the guitar.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't know if you want to hear that.
Okay, my final question is, what pleasure do you miss from life pre-COVID?
Ooh, you know what? It's probably going to be, honestly, it's socializing, not necessarily at bars. I say bars because it's such, especially in LA, it's such a big way that people socialize. They go out to bars, clubs, whatever. But I do miss that. I miss, you know, gathering with people. I'm an extrovert, big time extrovert. I am introverted in some ways. And I think, you know, the quarantine has actually made me a little bit more introverted because I find myself wanting more space, even though I have it, which is bizarre. But I will say, yeah, gathering with people in a social, fun environment and dancing to music is probably the play.
Dancing too. Yes, live music, dance floor. I'm not a good dancer, but I will break it down.
You know, hey, look, as long as you have your signature move, that's all that matters.
What's your signature move?
I would say it's probably the shuffle. And I can actually shuffle. Like this isn't just me saying, oh yeah, you know, like I'm some cool white guy that can dance. You know, it's like, no, I can actually shuffle. Now I can't do a lot of things. I can't, you know, back in the day, remember it was the jerk was really big, the Dougie, the cat daddy, you know, all that stuff. Right? Huh?
What's the cat daddy?
Oh, I'm not gonna even try to show you that. Just Google
I feel like you made that up.
No, it's definitely a thing.
Look, you'll learn a lot of things here at the New Normal now, but we can't teach you how to Dougie. That's
yeah. No. Although, who knows? If enough of you guys are interested, maybe we'll have a dancing in the New Normal episode.
Yeah, we could have a dance instructor or, you know, choreographer. Good idea.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay, now I'll go. So my guilty pleasure is McDonald's.
McDonald's.
Yes, I've loved it ever since I was a kid. And I think it's about the combination of taste and nostalgia. Because it really just takes me back to childhood with, my Happy Meals. And if I'm having a really bad day and need a pick-me-up, I'll get McDonald's. Or if I'm having a really good day and need a celebration, I get McDonald's. So
Oh,
that's it, yeah.
and I'm guessing it's the fries. It's the fries, isn't
Yes,
it?
it's all about the fries.
All
They're
about
the
the fries.
best in all the world. Don't you agree?
I guess.
Okay,
Whatever.
we'll talk. We'll have to talk about this. My
Yeah.
simple pleasure, watching sunsets.
That's good.
I love it. And what I've been doing in quarantine when I was in LA, I would drive to the Beverly Hills palm trees and watch the sunset over the trees. So beautiful and peaceful.
Great.
Yeah, that was my happy place. Well, another happy place would be the pleasure that I missed from life before COVID, which is Disneyland.
Oh,
I'm a huge Disney fan. Every birthday in LA, I go to Disneyland. And I grew up going to Disney World, so it has a very special place in my heart.
I see.
Yeah, lots of really great memories with my family. In fact, I went 2 years ago with my parents. They took me to Disney World. I have siblings. It was just me.
Oh, that's
Some
what?
people are like, we're over it. And I'm like, I will never be over it.
Oh no.
Yeah.
So I mean, you would say it really is the happiest place on earth for you.
Oh, for sure. When I go there, I'm a kid again. I'm just giddy. And I'm just walking around with my ears on. And I'm just so, I'm just really like in another world. I mean, the attention to detail and the level of imagination at Disneyland or World is, it's magical, Gio. It really is.
Oh, that's crazy. And I mean, it's crazy good. I have to admit that I've only been to Disneyland in my whole life 3 times. That's it. And I've grown up in San Diego.
Right? I know. I mean, it's not for everyone. Did you enjoy it?
Oh, I totally look. Here's one thing I like about Disneyland, and we'll have an episode at some point to talk about amusement parks and big events and what that looks like in the new normal. But the one thing that I really love is you go there and you really do transport yourself into a whole different world, and Galaxy's Edge and everything. Oh, amazing! Like when I saw that, incredible. So, but part of me is worried about not just Disneyland. I mean, I was a Legoland kid growing up, being in San Diego, and I love Legos, absolutely love Legos. But part of me is worried about these big parks that rely so much on people showing up to the parks. It's not like we have 360 virtual headsets that you put on and you can have robots that go around the park. Oh, but maybe they should do that. I don't know. But I think as much as I know, and it's definitely as much as you know about Disney, I think this might be a good time to bring in a guest to tell us a little bit more.
You're right. What a great transition, Gio.
Well, Gavin, can you hear us?
Yes. Hello, Gio, Hannah. Good to see you.
Good
so
to see
happy
you.
to have you here, the Disney expert.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm here to help. Whatever we need to know.
I love it. So Gavin, tell us a little bit about when we last spoke. I mean, you're a Disney fan, like a whole through and through. You've been a fan for as long as you knew you could be a fan. So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. So I had an interesting experience of growing up in San Francisco, coming down to Disneyland in Southern California. Since I was 4 years old, my birthday is New Year's Eve, became this annual tradition where we would come down every single year. But pretty quickly, I didn't just love going, as you guys described, just for the magic and escaping it. I got to be curious about the history, about how things worked, how the business aspects worked, just the inner workings of the theme park. So I got this great, awesome Imagineering book. It's this huge, big blue book. And I started researching the history of the Imagineers and how the theme parks came together. And so it totally just dove into loving that side of the business and of the theme parks visiting. And so when I was 13, started to blog about Disney and Disneyland, because not only did I love Disney, I was also interested in the internet and in business. And so put the two together, started this website, DisneyDose.com. That was my first site. It's still going today. And that was helping people learn about history and having basically Disneyland annual pass holders learning about history and how things happened and the history coming together, and actually wrote a book that turned into a best-selling book called Disneyland Secrets, which is still out today. It was the top of the Amazon travel category when I was 16. I was in high school when I put that together. And then, yeah, thank you. And so that was a ton of fun. Kind of wild, living a double life a little bit. I was doing junior year of high school rowing every day of the week, except for Sundays when I would write the book and call in, and worked with Disney's chief archivist, Dave Smith, who sadly passed away now, but got to know all these great people within the Disney universe and interviewing people, who worked on the parks in the beginning and working there now, and just have had a great experience. And that's learning about the history, and have since started a second site, mickeyvisit.com, which helps people to save money and experience more when they visit Disney, Universal, Legoland, as you mentioned, Gio, and just wide across the spectrum of theme parks and family travel today. Combine that with, as with both of you, just graduated from USC and had studied business and film, and yeah, fight on. And after studying business and film at USC, I've worked at Hulu, and now I'm joining a consulting firm after school working in media and entertainment. So I kind of have a broad view of the history, the inner workings of the business, working with them from the outside, families planning a trip, kind of how it's perceived, and then also the streaming future and what it really looks like for across the industry.
Can I just say, you have set the bar very high for our guests.
Well, thank you.
Gavin, we talked about this Washington Post article that came out just over the weekend, and Hannah, you actually let me know about it, which I thought was fascinating, and it was essentially a look into Disney's model for profit and what does that look like in a COVID world, and is that sustainable? And Gavin, you have a ton of experience with people from Disney. You understand how the business works, and you yourself have said, Disney's model does revolve around theme parks largely. So what, are they going to be able to get back to where they were?
You think about the Disney business is built up around 4 key units, and they kind of were all impacted in some way around the pandemic, starting with most obviously the theme parks closed down. Then you have the media networks, and in the media networks you have advertising revenue go way down because people don't need to advertise, and there's not big car sales or new movies coming out that are all often big profit drivers on the advertising side. Also, production is down on new scripted series as well as on sports. So ESPN is totally hit, and they don't have much to report on kind of across network, whether it's airing games or in shows. Then you have on the studio side, theaters both being closed and production being paused for the future. And then finally you get to Disney streaming, which is kind of the bright light here. But the difficulty around that was the plan for streaming was to not be profitable until 2023. And to have all these other kind of groups and divisions within the company firing on all cylinders to make up for this loss. So now you have what was going to be the loss leader, growth focused for the future, now being the bright light, but it also just means it's losing a lot of money. So it kind of in a bad place for this year.
When do you think Disneyland will open up at this point? I know that Disney World, they say, will open up later this month. Is that most likely going to remain the case?
Yeah, so Disney World has moved forward fully, and last I checked in, the government out there's no changes from the governor or the mayor of Orlando, but they're fully moving forward. They've put out videos showing how they're really going to take efforts to socially distance. We've already seen around the world success in opening up in Shanghai and Tokyo, where they're having places not to stand and you have to wear a mask, and spacing out fully throughout the parks, temperature checks coming in. So they're really doing everything they can to make sure that both their cast members and guests are safe, and that's really their top priority, kind of opening across the board. As for when in California stuff's going to open up, it's really interesting to see how cases impact the cause out here. And basically there's more of a requirement of a government approval in California than there is in Florida. So we're waiting, I would imagine, for new information to understand better how the spread is working, and if in Florida it's successful, to make sure that nothing's spreading out there. And in the short term, from what I've heard, we'll hear in July an update at least on not just Disneyland, but theme parks in California in general.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, right? Because it's like, even if you have, the protocols in place and are able to reopen, how do you change people's perceptions of going out and, potentially exposing themselves to, coronavirus or whatever? Like, even for me, like if a bar were to reopen right now completely, I would not go back. Like, I just don't feel comfortable yet. And when I think of Disneyland, I think of long lines. I think of, needing and forgive me, I've been there for, 3-4 times.
Yeah.
Fast Pass. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that the name? Okay. So sorry, all these Disney fans. I know you're going to all come after me. I apologize. But like, that's what I think of when I think of Disneyland. I think of crowds. I think of, really compact things. And I just wonder, I think as much as Disney will continue to change, I'm sure, and evolve and really lean in on the streaming service more than they have now, they can't ultimately change public perception. So like, that's my thing, is like, you, Gavin, being a super fan of Disney,
Sure.
Would you feel comfortable going back right now if they were to open tomorrow, let's say?
Well, I absolutely would, based on what they have put in place. Another aspect that I didn't mention is they're going to limit capacity down to 20% of what it typically is. Oh. So what we're seeing out in Universal Hollywood, Universal Orlando in Florida, which has been quietly open for a month, functioning really well, there are no crowds in the parks because they're limiting capacity, and it's a great experience for anyone who is able to go and chooses to go. Obviously, people who are at risk, it's not the right decision to go out, but I personally would be back there tomorrow if it were opening up tomorrow.
Really? Do you see any opportunities for Disney to film rides and maybe give guests like myself who are not comfortable going back to the parks like a virtual experience of being on the rides or anything like that, where we can't be there in person, but we can still experience the magic of Disney from home?
Sure, yeah. I think they're doing everything they can to bring that magic home through Disney Plus, whether it's a fantastic series and franchises that they have on there, as well as they've captured things like sharing the parade footage on Twitter to get people excited about being back. It's difficult though, because at some point it really is about that feeling that you have when you first walk into the park. So I think nothing can translate that experience fully, except for them keeping you connected to the brand and connected to excitement about getting back to the theme parks.
Yeah, that makes sense, Gavin. But obviously coronavirus is one aspect of what Disney's changing up right now or having to adapt to.
Yes.
We also know that Splash Mountain is now getting a rebrand, and this comes as, the other aspect of what's going on in the world right now, racial justice, reexamining, what that looks like in a new normal, and obviously all the protests and whatnot. Like, Disney now is essentially, taking a move on this and rebranding Splash Mountain. Now, obviously, I know Hannah knows about this, but Gavin, can you tell everybody who's listening, like, why is this such a big deal?
Sure. So I think it's most important to frame that through a lens that I actually would say is slightly different than what the article set up, which is that Disney, since the time that Bob Iger became CEO in 2005, has taken this lens of, okay, we're going to take the traditional values of Disney, of storytelling, of inclusion, of universal appeal, good over evil, optimism, and we're going to keep those storytelling values and move forward. But we might lose some of this stuff that's outdated or doesn't connect with modern day audiences. And that's how they've looked at every creative decision they've made moving forward since then. So you look at something like Disney acquiring Marvel, the person who'd owned Marvel beforehand was against the idea of any person of color or any female being a superhero. He said there's no money in it. When it came under the Disney roof, one of the first things they did was put into production Captain Marvel and Black Panther, because they believed, and absolutely turned out to be true, was that diverse stories and diverse characters only make a stronger connection between people and those brands. So I think it's, with that framing, it's important to think that that's how we came to today, which is Disney has been going through over the last couple of years and making lists of attractions and things in the theme parks that need to be changed. A previous change was there was a scene in Pirates of the Caribbean where they were auctioning off a red, we want the red head. It was an iconic scene, but the choice was made that maybe it's better to have a female pirate than it is to have a female being auctioned off, because it's more empowering and more fun? And does it change? Does it really hurt the ride? Not really, but it opens it up so that it's a broader image that people can have looking at the attraction. In the same way, for over a year, Disney has been planning transitioning Splash Mountain into the Princess and the Frog attraction. So basically, Splash Mountain is based on the Song of the South, which is an old, basically animated movie that Disney hasn't released for over 30 years because of racial tones, and it's really not it portrays slavery in a positive way. It's really not a piece that the modern day Disney company has stood behind for years. Even when they first released it for Splash Mountain, there was kind of questioning of whether it was the right thing to do, but they chose to move forward and just use the songs and really not reference back to the material too much. With that said, they kind of decided, Disney decided a couple years, they've said a year ago internally that it was time to go. And so they just announced, and I know so the timeline was that a year ago they started on the project and they rushed the announcement after the Black Lives Matter kind of protest and movement were going, and announced this transformation. It's going to be led by an incredible up-and-coming Imagineering creative director who, a woman named Sharita Carter, who people are really excited because she's an African-American female, and I've met her a number of times, and has this incredible story of having formerly been on the accounting side and then now being a lead creative. And so it's this great woman who is going to come in and lead the project, and they're also having the original creator of Splash Mountain as an advisor. And so it's an exciting transition, I think, from kind of an older property into the new Princess and the Frog attraction, where more people can see themselves in it, as well as kind of moving forward. It's a better fit for storytelling and really a better fit for Disney.
So Splash Mountain used to be one of my favorite rides, but it was really never about the theme of the ride. It was about that plunge, the rush of going up and the anxiety, and then, that release. That was my favorite part of the ride. And you're still going to get that just with Princess and the Frog, which I think is wonderful for so many reasons. I mean, the music in that movie is fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
And I think that especially now with this movement of social justice, racial justice, it's about time.
Yeah,
absolutely.
I could not agree more. And Gavin, I know there really is so much more we could talk about with Disney and everything right now. And like I mentioned earlier in the podcast, the vlogcast, the stream, whatever we're calling it, we're definitely going to have another episode where we'll go a little bit deeper into, the fate of amusement parks and theme parks and just overall big events, because I think a lot of people are going to wonder, Stagecoach coming back, is Coachella going to be able to come back? Are we going to be able to go back to a football game? And, what does all that look like? So we'll make sure to talk more and obviously get some of your opinions and some of your ideas in there too on a future episode. But Gavin, thank you so much. MickeyVisit.com. You got to go. You got to check it out. Even if you can't go to the park, you got to check it out because it's quite, a page. It's quite a company that you've put together. And Gavin, just briefly, you have a staff. Like, this isn't just you. Like, you built a company full and through.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah, I have a fantastic editor and team of writers who work with us, and it's just a joy to get to bring people coverage on MickeyVisit.com. We have a Facebook page, facebook.com/Disneyland Secrets. Been messing around with TikTok that's a whole trend too. I'm sure you have to have a conversation just about social media consumption in quarantine. So you can find us there at Disneyland Secrets as well, and that's also the name of the book. So yes, all over the place with a lot of great people and making the magic happen, same way it works at Disney.
Gavin, before we go, I have to ask, I know it's like choosing a favorite child, but what is your favorite ride at Disneyland? You can include California Adventure, either one.
So I of course have the classics, and for me, that would be Indiana Jones in Disneyland. But love Indiana Jones. It's awesome. It's unique to Disneyland. But this is kind of, some people don't like that I say this, but love the new Guardians of the Galaxy attraction that took over Tower of Terror. I think it's an improvement of what was there before.
That's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And I mean, Tower of Terror was truly terrifying. Like, I have nightmares about that ride. I would go on it, but it's have you been on it, Gio?
So I'm a chicken. Buck, buck, buck. Yeah, that kind of chicken. And the last time I went, which is again the third or fourth time I've ever been, was last year with my former college roommate. And yeah, I went in the line, I went around, the whole thing, and I said, "Can I leave now?" They said, "No, you got to wait until the next part." And then, "Can I dip out now?" "No, you got to wait until the next part." Are they just gonna like get me to go on the ride? So I have not been. I unfortunately get nauseated very easily. So even though I don't get sick, it would wreck my day. So I actually try to go to It's a Small World, that kind of stuff. So
I get you. I'm like, I don't do the scary rides. I only one time have been on the California Streamin' upside down roller coaster,
which is an Incredicoaster now.
Yes, never. It's not for me. So and Tower of Terror. So yeah, the Guardians of the Galaxy makes it fun. The music's great, and you're still getting this experience, but a little bit more positive.
But it's so funny because there was all this uproar about it coming in.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that at all? People were freaking out about it. And so in the same way, people are nostalgically reacting to Splash Mountain leaving.
I'm hoping they'll have a similar reaction once it's in place.
Absolutely. And I think that's the case. When they deliver a great attraction and deliver on that promise of Disney quality, then that dissenting voice kind of goes away.
Mm. Thank you so much for being here, Gavin. Really, I've learned so much, and I can't wait to check out all of your different sites, read your book. Wow.
This is great. Yeah, Disney's one of a kind, and Gavin Doyle is sure too. So thanks, Gavin. We'll make sure to bring you on when we start talking about amusement parks and big events again.
Pent up demand. That's all I'm going to say.
Guys, fight on. We have our mouse ears.
Fight on. All right, bye, Gavin.
Bye. Oh.
Wow. Amazing.
Right.
Yeah, like crazy. Like, have you ever met someone? I mean, we know that there are big Disney nerds out there, but someone who knows the Disney brand, the Disney business, and the fandom and all the nerd stuff, like, huh?
I could talk to him for hours, for days, for weeks. I geek out on Disney. That was so cool.
It's crazy. I mean, Gavin is going to be our de facto Disney correspondent at this point, Disney analyst, because I don't know if there's anyone that can really top that. So
I don't either. Oh, wow. And it makes me want to go to the park, which I don't think I'll be back. Even when it opens, I don't see myself going back for a very long time.
I know. Yeah, it's crazy. And, this is a good thing to kind of tie it into the bow is like, what's next, right? So that is the whole point of our podcast, right? Examining the new normal and what's happening now. And what obviously, that's in our name. But, it's like, how does the now impact when we're going to be able to go back? If we go back, and how we go back. And I think this is really going to be an interesting journey for us as we explore, all these different facets of society that have radically changed, some more than others, obviously. What does that look like? And are we going to have to literally rewire ourselves to find the same level of pleasure in the new normal version of whatever that thing is,
That's very true. I mean, I think these conversations will be evolving, and we'll have to check in and see how we feel as we go along. But it might be about adjusting what pleasure is for us, as we played that game earlier on. But I think for me right now, it's about those simple pleasures.
Definitely.
I can't really experience some of the more outrageous pleasures that I used to enjoy before, but one day, something to look forward to.
Yeah, and you know what? It's good to re-examine those things, right? Because those are the things that continue with us when the big pleasures, we can't have them. Family is a big one. You are now back with family. I've been back with family since the beginning of this whole stay-at-home order in California. And at first I thought, oh man, this is going to be, I don't know, it's not high school anymore. We're well past that, but it's been great. It really has. It's been a nice opportunity to reconnect and to sort of, have some nostalgia to how things were before, whether it was watching America's Got Talent with the family or whatever it may be, like that I think is something that's been super positive that's come out of this. So I think maybe the message to everyone would be is find the positives and really express them as loudly as you can. because if we focus on the negatives, we're just never going to get past this.
That's
So,
beautiful.
a
Beautiful.
little tidbit.
Another thing we didn't completely touch on was the fact that Hamilton came out on Disney Plus. I watched that with my family, and we will be bringing in the music director of Hamilton on Broadway, Ian Weinberger, to discuss creativity in the new normal. So that's coming up.
Really looking forward to that. And, we're going to actually have a really comprehensive episode on dating in the new normal as well, where we're going to bring in actually a CEO of a relatively new dating app that kind of puts a whole different spin on what meeting and connecting in a virtual way really should be. So I'm really excited for that. And I'm excited to share my dating story in the new normal, because that is quite a story. I'm not going to be humble about that. That was a good one. It's a good one.
Story for the ages. Yeah, quarantine goals. Just wait. And I'll be opening up about my experiences. It's not, the happy ending that Gio got, but maybe soon enough it will be.
Well, and I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that are going to have experiences similar to yours, and maybe perhaps similar to mine. So this is probably a good opportunity. If you do have a question or idea for this show, this is a fluid show. We are constantly evolving as we go. You may see different things behind us, in front of us. This is really a great experiment of a show. And with that in mind, if you do have a question or an idea, please feel free to drop us a line on the YouTube channel, interact with us, engage with us on TikTok, and follow us on our Instagram, because we're happy to engage with you in that way.
We are, and yeah, our backgrounds may be changing. We're currently home. I mean, I'm right now in my twin sister's apartment in DC. This is my studio. Shout out to Brooke, my sister. Yeah, and then, a few months from now, I'll probably be home in LA. We're just, it's all about the evolution here at the new normal now.
It's the new normal now.
It really is.
Quite literally.
This has been a great first episode.
I think so too.
Yeah.
Great one. Well, it's been great. And for all of you listening, thank you. We support it. We support you. Thanks for supporting us. And stay tuned for the next one in the near future.
We'll see you guys soon.